Does it feel like each time you do wiring that you have a new tool you have to buy or new things you have to buy each time? Well, it's not going to be any different today. We introduced to you the Deutsch style connector. Now, when we did our last video on wiring, everybody kept saying, oh, but Deutsch is the best, Deutsch is the best. And that was our intention, was to get to the Deutsch style connector. So here we are. Let's get started. Continuing our wiring series, it's not really a series, but we've covered several different wiring videos, and you can go back and look at those. We'll have them linked in the description. But let's just go really quick here. These are your typical connectors, right? Your spade connectors, whatever you want to call these. And these are your typical crimps, right? You can take a typical pair of crimpers and crimp these. Whether they're an insulated crimper or an insulated connector or non-insulated, I highly recommend when you're using these. By the way, there's sometimes no replacement for these, so these will always be needed. But I highly recommend a non-insulated crimper so that you can actually put a manual crimp on it, like this right here, where it has kind of like a tongue and groove. And you can see that you get a good mechanical bond, then you can slide your heat shrink back up there and shrink that on. So that's one way to do it. Again, we've covered this on several different videos. And that would be probably your cheapest option as well. And then we get into what we call an open barrel connection. And it also requires these kind of crimpers here, which are kind of like I'm going to call it a two-stage. It's really not two stages. Well, it is two stages that does it all at once. And that is, it crimps onto the insulation of the wire here, as well as crimps down on the copper or aluminum or whatever, the inside of the wire as well. So you get a nice solid contact on grip on both the insulation as well as the wire. And then again, you pull your heat shrink up, heat shrink it on there, and then you're good to go. Or you can get them with the pieces, or the pieces of rubber or pieces of plastic or the vinyl, whatever it is, and you can slide them up and do that. But I just like the regular heat shrink and put it on there. So that's another one, open barrel connection on regular connectors. And just to show you, this is what we're talking about right here. This is what we're talking about when we talk about open barrel connectors. And then we get into like weather packs or GM style connectors, where you can actually have some bodies that have gaskets on them, and then the wire itself or the connector itself is using the same open barrel connection design, where it's crimping on the insulation, but it has this piece of rubber here that it crimps onto, as well as the insulation of the wire, as well as it crimps down on the wire there. And then these little two prongs right here, that's what actually goes inside the connector and locks that into place. But then this is what you end up with. So you've got a connector that you can easily take on and off. And it's sealed from the elements as well. And again, these are going to take these crimpers as well. And as you can see right there. Now we move into the real stuff. And now we have what they call the Deutsch connector, or the Deutsch style connection, if you will. And Deutsch is D-E-U-T-S-C-H, so obviously very German. And it looks like this. And you can see we have a rubber gasket around here. This would be actually the female end. These are the male ends that are in here. So the actual body is going to be the female, and the actual pins will be the male. And the opposite's true here. So it's the male body and the female input there. And they're going to not only lock into place, but also be able to seal really well, and even sealed here on the back side also. So just a really nice connection when it comes to not only wiring the wires, but also sealing up the wires. And they're also easy to get loose as well. Push the tab, slide those out, and you're good to go. You can also maintain these, or be able to fix them as well, or remove wires, repin wires, things like that. Very easy to do that as well. Now this takes another special crimper. Now let's talk about that, because you don't have to get the pins that we did, or the contacts that we did, or the connectors, whatever you want to call these. And these are what they call solid contact connectors, or solid contact pins, meaning there's no split in them. It's a total circumference, and you can get these Deutsch style connectors with a open barrel or split barrel or whatever you want to call it design. However, I like the solid contact or the closed barrel system because I think it's a cleaner look and a cleaner crimp, as well as it's a better crimp. Now, with that said, it also takes a special crimper, even different than the open barrel connector. It's a ratcheting crimper. However, if you'll look down here in the barrel here, or in the bullseye, if you will, of the tool, as I squeeze, you'll see those teeth coming in from all different sides. And again, it's a ratcheting crimper, so I can bring it in. And then once I close it, it comes all the way back. But you can see right there, again, the teeth coming in on that. And this is adjustable to the actual wire size. So if we want to actually adjust this, number one, the color coding here is actually the depth of the pin or the size of the pin, because there's different size pins. We'll go over that in one moment. So this is made for this style, a number 16 pin or another number 16 connector. And then this here actually sets the setting for the wire size that you're actually using. So you will change that based on the wire size, and then that changes how much crimping is going on in here. Now, this is a rather expensive tool. You can see them as high as $800 for this style tool. This actually came with this kit, and the entire kit with the tool was right at $200. So it's not cheap. This is definitely going to be your higher cost option when it comes to wiring. However, it's probably going to give you the best results. Now, you can get these kits in all sorts of arrangements. This is like I believe a 200-piece kit or something like that. But what it comes with several of the 2-pin connectors. So that would be your female of the 2-pin, and then that's your male of the 2-pin. So those two go together, and we'll talk about these locking sets as well. Here's a 3-pin design, so more like a triangle. And again, there's the opposite end of the triangle as well. And then there's an 8-pin connector, a 6-pin connector, as well as I believe we get like one, is that a 12-pin or 24-pin? Yeah, so that would be a 12-pin. So 6 here, 6 there, a 12-pin connector as well. Let's go ahead and wire up a 4-pin connector and show you how this works. So we'll grab this one here. We're going to grab one of these green locks. We grab one of these orange locks. And then the female connector as well. And by the way, be careful with these until you get them all locked up, because the gasket may come off of it, but that'll get locked on later. We don't have to glue it or anything. Anyway, what else comes with the kit is again, the crimper. So pretty cool. We'll show adjusting that here in one moment. And then this is a little, really just kind of a skinny flat blade screwdriver, but there's actually a little hook right here, and that's actually to do some maintenance or to move wires around or what have you, and we'll show you how that works as well. And then these little things right here are also for removing wires, so we'll show you how that works also. And then here's our solid pin or our solid contact pins, and we have them in both male and female, so let's get a few out here. We'll get 4 of the male, and we'll get 4 of the female. I'm just curious, do you think there's a better style connector than this? And is there a better style internal connector than the solid contact? Let us know. Now, in addition to the number of pins, these also come in different series or styles of connectors, or sizes of connectors, be a better term. They come in the DT, they come in the DTM, and they come in the DTP. Now, this set is the DT series, which is probably your most common. And what this is going to be good for is 14 to 20 gauge wire. And that's going to be good for 13 amps. The DTM, the way to remember this is the M for miniature. So we'll just write mini right here. And so that's for your smaller gauge wire, obviously. And that's going to be for 14 to 22 gauge wire. And that's going to be good for 7.5 amps. So you may ask, well, this is only going to 22, but it's going all the way up to 14. So why not just use this one? Well, that's why, because it's a smaller connector. It's a shorter and smaller connector. So it's only good for carrying 7.5 amps. So this is the better choice when you can. It's just if you have to step down to 22, go down to the DTM. And then the DTP, think of power, because this is going to be your larger size and this is going to be your 10 to 14 gauge. And that's going to be good for carrying 25 amps. And just so you know, this takes a number 16 contact. This one takes a number 20 contact, and this is a number 12 contact, meaning the size of the contact here. And again, each one of these is going to be a different size of plug, as well as the connector, the solid contact connector as well. Let's clear the way here. So let's go ahead and build out a 4-pin or 4-wire plug, which means that we're going to need 8 wires because we're going to do a female and a male. And let's take a look right here. As I was mentioning, you're going to actually change this based off of the wire size. So when you take these solid pin connectors, what you're going to do, you don't drop them here, but you take the in the male side, the small end, and basically the barrel that's going to actually accept the wire is going to go on the top, and you're just going to drop that in there. So it's predetermined based off of this color code here that this is using a number 16 connector. And so when you drop it in, it indexes exactly where it needs to go. So you don't have to guesstimate how deep you need to put it in there. Now there are some of these tools that actually have an adjustable knob here where you can actually adjust that in and out for different sizes. This one, you'll actually change the insert here or get another tool. So again, the pins, whether they're male or female, are going to drop right in there. So there's a male and here's a female. Just make sure that the end that you're putting the wire in is sticking up. So those are going to index exactly where they need to go. Over here, we need to adjust the bite of how far those teeth actually go in and crimp that wire. So we take this little safety pin out, and then we can lift this dial up right here and turn that to where it needs to go. Now, our indexing mark is right there, so that's set on 18 or 0.75, and that's 0.5 millimeter or 20 gauge. That's what we want. Got that dialed in right there. And by the way, if you get this kit, this little safety pin right here, don't try to bend that out of the way or anything. You just take that little curled in and you push it there, and then the hole is right there. So you're just going to push that down like that and then slide that in, and then that locks into place. So that means you're not going to bump it anywhere. Now it's locked in to that 20 gauge and it's ready to crimp. Now, one of the critical things about doing these is making sure that you get the strip the right way or the right distance. And I would highly recommend getting a pair of strippers like this where you can actually set the depth to be able to put it in there and get the same strip each time you pull it. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. What we want is when we put this on here, so we put it on the wire, we want barely some wire exposed right here below the connector, as well as there is a little bitty, there's a very small hole right here on the connector, right there on the connector where you can actually see the wire. So that kind of gives you the telltale. You want to make sure that you're all the way in there. So you want to make sure the strip of your wire is just perfect. So you got a little bit showing so that we know that wire is all the way down into that connector. And then again, we're going to put it in the tool. And then all we're going to do is squeeze it all the way down. And then when it stops, release. And then that's what we get. So now what we get is a very well crimped solid connector that's crimped all the way around. And in fact, each crimp has 2 crimps. So there's 2 teeth. So you basically got 8 crimps, 4 all the way around twice. So 8 different crimps on that connector holding that wire in there very solidly. So let's go ahead and get the rest of these. So again, once we set our depth on these strippers, it's very easy to just quickly So now we've got all those stripped already. So there's the brown male. Let's do the brown and a female. Make sure you don't have any wires sticking out. So there we have 4 in the male, 4 in the female. You all give them all a tug to make sure that they're on there solid. And they are. Now let's get these together. This is the fun part. And understand this. The male, the one with the gasket on it, the male connector is going to get the female solid connectors. And you're just going to push these right through the rubber. So let's just say orange on the top right. And I'm sure there's a number to these as well. And this is as easy as sliding it all the way up. And you'll hear it click and you'll feel it. So it's locked in. Now let's put the brown beside that. Again, you're going to hear it click. Then let's put the green in. And so you can just hold the base here, push that in, and you'll see it get really flush to the end, and then we'll do the green here. Now that's all locked in. Now let's do the female connector, or the female outside connector, if you will. And then on this one, we're going to be opposite, right? So we're going to see how these lock in. So we want the brown on the top left, the orange on the top right. Slide this in, lock that in. Orange here. And again, these are the male connectors going into the female plug. And again, you're going to feel it and hear it click. And then we'll slide that in, lock that into place. And the last one, let's see if we can hear this click. So you heard that click into place. So now we've got all 8 wires in here. But before we do anything, we want to put the locks in. But before we do that, let's just make sure that we've got, okay, yep, we got orange, orange, brown, brown. And we've got green. Oh, man, we've done that wrong. I've done that wrong. So I need to swap my green and white. Well, I did that on purpose because what we can do here, we have a couple of different options. Number one, if you don't have the lock in there yet, then you can literally just take a pick or the screwdriver and come down here, and there's a lock right in there, and you're just going to slide that over. So literally push it over like that, or you can turn it. Now the hard thing is you do have to do this while pulling on the wire. But then you can pull that right out. See that like that? And then the white one the same way. But the white one, let's do something different. So the white one, and again, our lock's in the middle. So I'm going to take this little doohickey tool. That's exactly what it's named. And I'm just going to push this on in past the gasket here till it bottoms out. And then I'm going to pull with the wire. And you see it pulls that right out. So that slides in there and actually undoes that lock where I can pull this out. And so now I can change my wire to the correct way. Put that over there. This over here. So you can get a pick down there and undo that, or you can slide that tool down in there and do that. And then what we need to do is take this little green doohickey. We have lots of doohickeys in this kit. Don't know if you knew that. And you could probably put it in there and shake it around, or if you want to take just a small pair of needle nose, and just like the pins, you're just going to push it down till it clicks into place and locks into place. And what that's doing, now those locks are locked in. So that lock is locking in the lock. So now we could push that in there all you want, but that lock's not going to move out of the way because that lock has it pinned in there where it can't move. So that's going to lock that in. And then on this one, it's going to do the same, but for the female connectors, and it's going to keep that gasket on as well. So now we take this, very satisfying, just push that on, and that's going to lock that into place. And so now you get a locking connector there. Nice solid click on the connector, and it seals up tightly. So that gasket is sealing there. These gaskets are sealing here. So nice solid connection that, again, we can open up and take apart if we need to, or rewire. But we've got our wires connected correctly, our orange to orange, brown to brown, green to green, and white to white. So a much better sealed connector, as well as a much better maintainable connector. So when you're installing sensors, whether it be in a race car, whether you're installing, different electronics on a boat or wherever, the Deutsch style connector is a lot better connector. And even more so, I would recommend not going to the open barrel style connector on the Deutsch system, but going with the solid contacts. And yes, you're going to have to step up and get a higher price tool. But again, it's going to increase that, tool arsenal that you already have. But it's a lot better bite on the crimp, as well as a lot cleaner look as well. And I think it's going to last longer as well. And you can take this little tool right here, and the little hook thing right there, you can actually go down in that lock and grab that, pull it out, and now that's not locked anymore. And same thing, you can either slide this up the backside, or you can take your screwdriver or punch and open that lock up and be able to remove those wires. So yes, much more expensive system, but once you have it, really the connectors aren't that much money. Now the true German ones are, but you can buy the knockoffs like this on Amazon and get them. So whatever you want to do I recommend going with the German ones? Absolutely. They're always going to be probably the top notch when it comes to anything engineered wise. But if you're wanting to save a little money and keep it on the cheaper side, then you can still get the connection technology, but just at a cheaper route, but it just may be little cheaper connectors as well. But again, highly recommend going with the solid contacts, the closed barrel, if you will. Hey, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, well, then give us the old thumbs down, but let us know in the comments why. Have a great day. Keep smiling.